If you're seeing this, the universe knows you're ready. Not because you're perfect, not because you've done all the right things, but because, on a level deeper than your mind can grasp, something inside you has aligned. You didn't stumble onto this message, you were drawn here by resonance, not randomness. And whether you're aware of it or not, you've already crossed a threshold that shifts you from waiting into becoming. You've felt it, haven't you? That strange tension, like you're on the edge of something, like life has been whispering to you, but you couldn't quite translate what it meant. You've done the visualizations, the affirmations, the journaling, you've asked for signs, begged for answers, and sat in silence, wondering if anything was ever going to change. But here's the truth the universe needs you to hear now. You are never being ignored, you are being prepared. See, readiness isn't a date on a calendar, it's not about time at all, it's vibration. And the universe doesn't respond to your hopes or your wants or your timelines, it responds to your frequency. And now, that frequency is beginning to shift. You may not see it yet, but the signs are there. The calm beneath the chaos, the inner knowing that replaces the constant craving, the peace that slowly begins to replace the pressure. The truth is, you were never behind, you were being calibrated. Every delay wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Every obstacle wasn't denial, it was refinement. Every unanswered prayer was the universe's way of saying, not yet. Because you're meant for more than just receiving. You're meant to embody. There's a sacred pause that happens right before your life transforms. A stillness that feels empty on the surface, but underneath, something is reordering, something ancient, something intelligent. This is what you've been sensing. Not stagnation, but realignment. What you've called waiting has actually been wound space. A cocoon, the chrysalis of your next evolution, and it only opens when the frequency within you matches the life you've been asking for. That's why you haven't felt fully ready until now. You see, what most people don't realize is that energy is the gatekeeper, not your goals, not your effort, your energy. And the reality is, you can't force your way into a vibration. You have to become it. You have to remember it. And if this message is reaching you at this moment, it's because a shift has happened, your resonance has changed. You are no longer aligned with the version of you that was trying so hard to manifest from fear, from lack, from urgency. You are beginning to embody the version of you who knows they are already in alignment, who knows they don't have to chase, they just have to receive. But make no mistake, this isn't passive. It's not about doing nothing. It's about becoming so energetically clear that the things meant for you can find you without resistance. That's what real readiness is. Not effort, not hustle, but coherence. Inner congruence. When your thoughts, your emotions, your self-concept and your beliefs all vibrate in harmony. That's when the gates open. Because the universe is not keeping things from you, it's keeping them for you until you become a match. And now, you're starting to become one. You feel it in the way your intuition speaks louder. You notice it in the signs you can't explain. The numbers, the feathers, the patterns that seem too precise to be coincidence. These are not random events. They are spiritual breadcrumbs, rail markers. Proof that the unseen is becoming seen. That the shift you've been sensing is not imagination, it's confirmation. Because you were never blocked. You were buffering, you were catching up to the frequency of the life you were always destined for. The universe wasn't saying no, it was saying almost. And now, that almost is turning into now. If you're still looking around wondering why nothing's happened yet, don't let your eyes deceive you. The transformation always starts invisibly, underground, like roots forming before a tree ever breaks the soil. And by the time you see it, it's already done. That's what readiness feels like, subtle, soft, but undeniable. You don't feel frantic, you feel calm. You don't feel desperate, you feel steady. You don't feel like something's missing, you feel like something's coming, because it is. Readiness isn't about confidence, it's about resonance. And right now, your resonance is matching a new reality. It's why you felt the urge to release things, people, habits, identities, not because you're broken, because you're clearing bandwidth, creating space for the frequency of your next level. This is sacred work. And the reason it's taken so long is because you've been healing parts of yourself you didn't even realize were out of alignment, beliefs passed down from generations, patterns you didn't choose, trauma responses disguised as ambition, fear dressed as discipline. But all of that is melting away. And what's left is you, the real you, the one that remembers who you were before the world told you who to be, the one that's not striving anymore, but allowing, the one that's not chasing but attracting, the one who doesn't beg for a breakthrough but embodies the vibration of one. If you're hearing this now, it's not because you're about to become ready, it's because you already are, and the universe knows it. You've probably wondered by now, why hasn't it happened yet? Why does it feel like you've been working so hard, doing everything right, and still no breakthrough? But the truth is, nothing has ever been denied to you, it's only ever been delayed. By your own energetic mismatch, which might be hard to hear at first, because in the world we're raised in, we're taught that hard work guarantees results. Push harder, try more, be stronger, and when it doesn't work, you blame yourself. You think maybe you're not worthy, maybe you're not good enough. But that's not the truth. The truth is that manifestation doesn't come through pressure, it comes through presence. You don't receive your desires when you fight for them, you receive them when you become the version of you who already lives them. This is the divine irony. The moment you let go of trying to make it happen is the moment you begin to align with the frequency that allows it to happen. That's why so many people experience miracles the moment they give up, not because they're defeated, but because they finally surrender. They stop resisting what is. They release the anxiety, the tight grip, the need to control every detail. And in that letting go, their vibration shifts. Think back for a moment. Can you remember a time in your life when something came to you effortlessly? A job, a relationship, a coincidence too perfect to be random? What did it feel like? You weren't striving, you weren't desperate, you were probably focused on something else entirely, something that brought you joy or peace or curiosity, and then, without even realizing it, the thing you once craved arrived. That wasn't luck, that was resonance. It was the universe responding to your frequency, not your effort. That's the shift happening within you now. You're starting to release the internal pressure that was keeping your energy in a state of not yet. Because when you're vibrating in the energy of, I need this to happen, you're actually broadcasting lack. You're radiating it's not here yet, and the universe, being exact and responsive, mirrors that vibration right back. But the moment you say, I trust, I release, I am enough right here, right now, your entire signal changes, and suddenly life opens. That's what it means to align, not effort, to attract, not chase, to magnetize, not manufacture. Because manifestation isn't about earning, it's about matching. And here's what's beautiful. You're already doing it, right now. You're watching this not because you're still searching, but because your vibration has shifted into receiving. This isn't just a video, it's a mirror, and what it's reflecting back is your own evolution. You're not late. You're in divine time, even if your ego screams that you're behind, even if the world tells you you should be further along. The soul knows something the mind forgets. Readiness has nothing to do with external clocks. It's about internal codes. And right now those codes are unlocking. Everything that once felt stuck is beginning to move, not because you finally figured it out, but because you finally let go. You stopped asking when and started feeling now. You stopped trying to be someone else and started becoming more of you. That shift from force to flow is the pivot that changes everything. And yes, it's subtle, quiet even. It doesn't look like fireworks or thunderclaps. It looks like peace, like ease, like trust. It looks like you saying, I'm not going to keep running toward the future. I'm going to feel it now. I'm going to live in the energy of it now. And in doing that, you become the vibrational blueprint for everything you've asked for. People often think that surrender means giving up, but true surrender is the most powerful form of alignment there is. It says to the universe, I no longer need to beg for what's already mine. I trust that what's for me is already finding me. And the universe, like a divine GPS, recalculates and begins to move everything around to meet you. People shift, circumstances rearrange, time bends, and what once seemed impossible starts to unfold effortlessly. This is why so many stories of transformation sound the same. I gave up, I stopped trying, and then it came. They're not anomalies, they're blueprints. Because effort without alignment creates resistance, but surrender with belief creates flow. You're not meant to grind your way into destiny, you're meant to harmonize with it, to feel it first, to know it not as a concept, but as a lived, embodied reality. This is the secret most never learn. Your outer world does not respond to your actions alone. It responds to the energy behind them. You can do all the right things, but if you're doing them from a state of fear, doubt, or urgency, your results will match that frequency. But if you move from a place of alignment, where your actions are infused with trust, joy, and presence, then even the smallest steps create quantum shifts. Right now, the universe is not waiting for your next strategy, it's not waiting for your next plan, it's waiting for your signal, and your signal is clearer than it's ever been. You may not see the full result yet, but the energy has already shifted. You've moved from pursuit into presence, from waiting into welcoming. And that's why you're here. Because whether or not your mind fully realizes it, your soul is already celebrating. You're not waiting for a sign, you are the sign. Have you ever noticed how, just before something big in your life happens, everything goes quiet? You're not moving forward, not moving back, just suspended, waiting, watching, feeling like nothing's happening. And that feeling, it can be terrifying. But what if I told you that the stillness you're experiencing isn't punishment? It's a signal, not a sign of stagnation, but sacred preparation. We live in a world that glorifies momentum, constant motion, always doing, always building, always proving. And in that noise, we forget that growth doesn't only happen through motion, it also happens in stillness. Sometimes, especially in stillness. The universe whispers through silence. And if you've been feeling like things are quiet lately, internally, externally, it doesn't mean you've been forgotten. It means you're being recalibrated. You're in the in-between space, the sacred pause between identities, between vibrations, between timelines. And that pause is powerful. It's where the old dissolves and the new hasn't fully arrived. It's the womb, the void, the chrysalis. And it's not meant to be rushed. It's meant to be revered, because in that space you're not being asked to do more. You're being asked to be more, to sit with yourself, to hear the parts of you that got drowned out by the noise, to allow everything you've learned to finally integrate, not just as knowledge, but as embodiment. You've probably read dozens of books, watched countless videos, taken in quote after quote, truth after truth. But have you given yourself space to become what you've consumed? That's what the sacred pause invites. It's the universe saying, before I give you more. And becoming more doesn't happen through striving, it happens through stillness, through sitting with your breath, through listening to the space between thoughts, through surrendering the question and realizing the answer lives inside the silence. Eckhart Tolle once said, stillness is where creativity and solutions to problems are found. And it's true. Some of the most profound transformations in your life won't come from action, but from awareness. From being with yourself long enough to finally hear what your soul has been trying to say all along. That's why the pause matters. That's why nothing has moved yet. Not because you're being punished, because you're being asked to listen. And in that listening, something shifts. Your nervous system begins to soften. Your heart starts beating in rhythm with the truth again. Your mind stops scrambling for plans and starts receiving instructions from something deeper than logic. You start remembering who you are, without all the noise. This isn't a void, it's a womb. And yes, it can feel dark. Yes, it can feel empty. But what if that darkness isn't emptiness? It's sacred space. Like the dark soil that hides the seed before it sprouts. Like the night sky that holds every star. Like the space between breaths that reminds you you're alive. Lao Tzu wrote, "Do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving till the right action arises by itself?" This isn't about inaction. It's about divine timing. It's about allowing your next steps to rise from a place of clarity, not chaos. That's why you've been placed in this pause, not to question your worth, but to reconnect with it. You are not behind, you are not off track. You are exactly where you're meant to be, between the ending of what no longer fits and the emergence of what truly aligns. And no, it's not easy. Stillness can be confronting, because when there's no more external movement to distract you, you have to sit with what's inside, the fear, the doubt, the unresolved ache. But even that is sacred, because it's not rising to punish you, it's rising to be seen, to be felt, to be loved into release. Stillness is the invitation to come home to yourself, to remember that being is not less than doing, that your value doesn't increase with productivity, that your energy is sacred even when it's quiet, especially when it's quiet, because it's in those quiet seasons that you stop broadcasting desperation and start humming in resonance. It's when you soften your grip that your vibration begins to rise. It's when you stop chasing timelines that your true self begins to surface. And when that self rises, so does your reality. So if things have felt slow lately, if your path feels paused, if your desires haven't arrived yet, it doesn't mean it's over. It means you're in the sacred space before the bloom. And this is not the time to give up. It's the time to go in, to rest deeper, breathe fuller, surrender harder, trust more completely. Because what you're becoming right now is the version of you that doesn't need to rush anymore, that doesn't panic in stillness, that doesn't resist the pause. Because you've learned the pause is sacred. So take this moment, breathe into it, let yourself stop searching for what's next and start feeling what's now. Because when you truly honor the now, the next always finds you. Think of your life like a radio. You're tuning the dial looking for a signal. Some stations come in fuzzy, others play music that doesn't feel right, and then you hit the frequency. Clear, crisp, exactly what you were looking for. The message didn't suddenly appear. It was always being broadcast, but until you were on the right station, you couldn't hear it. That's how the universe works. What you're asking for, love, purpose, abundance, healing, it's not being withheld, it's being broadcast constantly. But the reason it hasn't arrived yet is because your internal frequency hasn't fully matched the signal. And here's the part we don't always want to admit. Sometimes we're not yet able to receive what we say we want, not because we're broken, not because we're being tested, but because there's still emotional dissonance inside us, conflicting vibrations that send mixed messages out into the field. You say you want deep love, but part of you still fears being seen. You say you want wealth, but deep down you feel guilty for having more. You say you're ready for a breakthrough, but part of you is terrified of outgrowing the people around you. This is emotional dissonance. It's not sabotage. It's misalignment, and it creates static in your signal. Just like a radio stuck between stations, you end up receiving fragments, glimpses, almosts, but not the full clarity of what you're calling in. That's why clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from feeling truer. It comes from doing the deep, honest work of aligning your inner world, your thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and expectations, so they vibrate as one. That's when the signal locks in. That's when manifestation isn't a wish, it's a certainty. Because the universe isn't random, it's exact. It's not responding to what you write in your journal once a day. It's responding to the vibration you broadcast 24/7. The one beneath the words, the one beneath the smile, the one that lives in your nervous system, your breath, your core. And when that frequency clicks into harmony, something sacred happens. Suddenly, you're no longer chasing signs, you're walking in alignment with them. You're not begging the universe to move, you are the movement. And all those things you thought were far away, they start to show up, effortlessly, because your energy becomes a magnet, a mirror, a living match to everything you once thought you had to fight for. But you only get there when the inside matches the outside. That's why this journey has taken time, because you're not just building a new life, you're building a new signal, a new self, one that doesn't just perform worthiness, but embodies it, one that doesn't just ask for love, but feels safe receiving it, one that doesn't just hope for abundance, but believes it's natural. Your desires are sacred, but your soul knows something your mind has forgotten. Receiving requires readiness, not in the form of doing more, but in the form of being more aligned. This is why the timing has been so precise, so intentional, because the universe doesn't deliver according to your deadlines. It delivers according to your vibration, and while your mind keeps asking, when will it happen, your soul keeps whispering, when you remember who you are. And you're remembering now, aren't you? You feel it in your body, in your breath, in the way you've started questioning your old stories, your old patterns, your old beliefs, because something inside you knows. You didn't come here to force your way into miracles. You came here to become the version of you that miracles feel natural around. You came here to remember that the moment your energy becomes congruent, your reality has no choice but to follow. So don't let the silence fool you. Don't let the delay discourage you. The tuning is happening. The signal is almost there, and soon what once felt out of reach will be undeniable. Not because you chased it, but because you finally vibrated with it. Readiness isn't about capability. It's not about how smart you are, how much you've learned, or how many spiritual tools you've collected along the way. It's about coherence. True readiness is when your energy, your beliefs, your emotions, your desires begin to speak the same language. It's not about proving you're worthy. It's about becoming congruent with what you want to receive. That's what energetic maturity really is. Not perfection, not enlightenment, but inner harmony. Because here's the truth, you can desire something deeply, but if your emotions still carry fear and your beliefs still whisper you're not ready, then the universe will wait, not to punish you, but to protect the integrity of your journey. Because you're not meant to just receive something, you're meant to hold it, sustain it, live it, and that requires an energy that's stable, not scattered. It's why your healing mattered so much. It's why your silence was sacred, because in those hidden spaces, you were learning to trust yourself, to regulate your emotions, to shift your thoughts, to dissolve the inner noise that kept contradicting your desires. And now, because of that, you're becoming energetically mature. You're noticing the signs. Urgency is fading. Peace is rising. You no longer feel like you need something to prove your worth. You already feel it inside you. You're not chasing alignment, you are alignment. You've stopped forcing things to happen and started listening for when things are ready to unfold. That shift is maturity. When you no longer demand answers but trust they'll come. When you no longer spiral in doubt but ground yourself in knowing. When your nervous system starts to settle, even when the outside world is still catching up. You're becoming the kind of person who doesn't just manifest things, but holds space for them. the version of you who can receive without collapsing, the version of you who understands that the journey was never about getting something. It was about becoming someone, and now that someone is emerging. You feel it when you wake up in the morning and there's a calm in your chest that used to be filled with noise. You feel it when your triggers soften, when you pause instead of react, when you no longer chase validation from places that once made you feel small. That's energetic maturity. Not a title, not a certificate, but a state of being. And it's the doorway to the life you've been asking for. Because the universe doesn't deliver to your potential, it delivers to your current frequency. And when that frequency becomes emotionally regulated, spiritually grounded, and energetically open, everything begins to change. Not because the world shifted, but because you did. You've moved from "I want it now" into "I trust it's coming." From "how do I fix this" into "what is this teaching me?" From "I need to do more" into "I am enough right now." These are the signs, not flashy, not loud, but deeply real. And here's what's beautiful. The more energetically mature you become, the less you need to chase signs, because you become one. You start moving through the world as evidence of alignment. Your presence begins to shift rooms. Your words carry a frequency of truth. Your stillness holds power. And from that place, your manifestations begin to find you. Easily, gratefully, unmistakably, because you've become someone who's not just asking. You've become someone who is finally ready to receive, and not just receive the thing, but live the version of yourself that the thing requires. So if you've been feeling more at peace lately, if urgency is fading and clarity is rising, if you've stopped trying to rush your evolution and started trusting its intelligence, then congratulations. You're not waiting for your life to change. Your life is waiting for you to realize that it already has. Imagine a great temple, vast, silent, sacred. Inside it is everything you've ever asked for. Love that holds you, abundance that frees you, purpose that moves you to tears. The doors stand tall, ancient, imposing, but there's no handle, no keyhole, no one guarding the entrance. So how do they open? They respond to one thing, your frequency. Because this isn't a temple you break into, it's a temple that opens from the inside. Your energetic signature is the key, and until that frequency aligns, the doors remain still, not because you're unworthy, but because what's inside is too sacred to be mishandled, too holy to be touched by confusion, fear, or disbelief. Nothing you desire is being kept from you. It's being safeguarded, protected by spiritual law, shielded by the truth that says, desires are not denied, they are divinely guarded, until you're ready to hold them with grace, until you've become the version of yourself that honors the magnitude of what's inside. And readiness, as you now know, isn't about striving, it's about matching. When your energy carries peace instead of pressure, trust instead of tension, wholeness instead of hunger, that's when the doors begin to hum. That's when the temple feels you, because your vibration doesn't lie. You can say the right words, you can light the candles, write the affirmations, repeat the mantras, but the doors won't move until your being becomes the prayer. This is the spiritual gatekeeper. It doesn't speak English, it speaks frequency. It doesn't respond to urgency, it responds to coherence. And coherence doesn't come from force, it comes from devotion, from inner work, from the quiet, consistent moments when you choose to believe in your worth, even when nothing outside reflects it yet. That's the work that opens the gates. Not the visible work, the invisible, the late nights where you choose love over fear, the mornings where you sit in silence instead of spiraling, the moments you forgive instead of close off, the days you let go even when your heart still aches. Every one of those choices shapes your vibration. And over time, something shifts. Your energetic field starts to resonate with truth, with stability, with presence, and the temple begins to stir, not with lightning, but with recognition. because it was never locked to keep you out. It was waiting to feel you arrive. Not physically, energetically. That's what readiness really is. Not shouting your desires into the universe, but whispering "I'm ready" through your state of being. And when that whisper becomes loud enough to echo through your aura, to ripple through your emotional body, to beam from your cells like a frequency tower, the gates swing open, not because you finally earned it, but because you finally remembered. You were always meant to walk through, but not until your energy became sacred enough to honor what you'd find inside. So if you feel like you've been doing the work, but the doors haven't moved yet, don't give up. Look within. Ask yourself, am I still pushing from a place of scarcity? Or am I now expanding from a place of truth? Because when you move from truth, the gate doesn't need convincing, it knows you. It recognizes the resonance. It doesn't open because you're louder. It opens because you're clearer. That's the secret. It was never about how badly you wanted it. It was always about how fully you matched it. You've been taught your whole life that effort is everything. Push harder, stay longer, try again. And while effort has its place, in the spiritual realm, effort without resonance is like trying to tune into a radio station with brute force. You can twist the dial all you want, but until you land on the right frequency, all you'll hear is static. This is the illusion of effort. That if you just want it more, if you just visualize harder, if you just repeat your affirmations louder, you'll finally get there. But real manifestation doesn't respond to willpower, it responds to resonance. You don't receive what you fight for, you receive what you flow with. Because willpower is rooted in the mind. But resonance, that's the language of the soul. And the soul doesn't chase. It remembers. It aligns. It rests in certainty even before anything appears. When you chase something, you're telling the universe, I don't have this yet. Your energy vibrates with lack, with separation, and because the universe mirrors vibration, it says, okay, I'll reflect that. So no matter how hard you work, you end up reinforcing the very reality you're trying to escape. But here's the paradox. The moment you let go, things start to move. Not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped resisting. Letting go isn't giving up, it's giving space. It's releasing your grip on how it should come, when it should come, who it should come through, and allowing the universe to deliver in ways more perfect than you could have ever designed. That's resonance. It's walking in faith before you see the outcome. It's trusting that your frequency is enough to draw the right people, the right timing, the right breakthroughs into your life, without force. Think about the moments in your life when magic happened. Real magic. The job offer that came out of nowhere. The person you met by chance who ended up changing everything. The opportunity that found you after you finally stopped obsessing. Those were moments when your energy shifted from gripping to glowing, from striving to receiving. And that shift made all the difference, because the universe doesn't need your hustle, it needs your harmony. It needs you to stop radiating, I'm not there yet, and start embodying, I already am. And yes, it takes courage to do that. It takes trust to let go when the world around you is still telling you to fight. But the spiritual path is not about noise. It's about signal. And your signal is strongest when it comes from peace, from embodiment, from a deep, cellular knowing that what you seek is already seeking you. Right now, you are being invited to drop the heaviness of control and pick up the lightness of trust, to shift your focus from doing more to being more aligned. That's the hidden secret behind every miracle. They don't arrive through strain, they arrive through surrender. So let this be your affirmation. I do not chase, I attract. I do not force, I align. I do not fear the delay, because I know it's just the universe rearranging everything in my favor. Let these words become your breath. Let them guide your posture, your presence, your expectations, because from this place, You don't need to scream into the void hoping something will echo back. You become the vibration that draws it all to you. And suddenly, everything you thought you had to climb mountains for begins to flow in, not because you stopped wanting it, but because you finally became it. Have you ever looked at the clock and seen 11:11, or noticed the same number follow you all day, on license plates, receipts, billboards? Have you ever felt a sudden pull towards someone, something, someplace, and couldn't explain why, only to realize later it was exactly where you were meant to be? That's not random, it's not coincidence, it's communication. The universe speaks to you in symbols, in patterns, in code. And the more aligned you become, the clearer that language becomes, because the universe doesn't speak English, or Spanish, or any human language. It speaks frequency, it speaks vibration, and once your energy becomes coherent, it begins to mirror itself outwardly, in repeating numbers, in perfectly timed meetings, in moments that seem impossibly orchestrated. This is synchronicity. And it's not magic, it's alignment, made visible. When you see repeating numbers like 222, 333, 777, it's not a superstition. It's a signal, a wink from the divine saying, "You're in tune, keep going." It's your vibrational field locking into resonance with something higher. And those numbers, they're markers, confirmation codes, a cosmic GPS showing you that you're not alone and you're not lost. But to fully receive the message, you have to train yourself to listen differently, to interpret the subtle, to see the unseen, to feel the tug in your gut and trust that it's not just a random thought, but divine guidance. This is what spiritual attunement creates, the ability to read the world as scripture, not in dogma, but in dynamic, living, breathing symbols. The right song comes on the moment you're about to give up, and the lyrics say exactly what you needed to hear. A book falls off the shelf, and the page it opens to answers a question you haven't spoken out loud. You randomly decide to visit a new cafe and end up sitting next to someone who opens the door to your next chapter. This isn't luck. It's the universe responding to your frequency with precision. It's your outer world reshaping itself around your inner alignment. And when you learn to read these signs, you stop asking for proof. You live as proof. Because synchronicities are not about superstition. They are about support. They're how the universe says you're on the right path, even when your mind still doubts it. Let me share a moment. There was a woman once, deeply stuck in her career. She felt lost, unseen, like she was meant for more but didn't know how to get there. One day, while walking home, she saw a billboard with a message that said, "Start before you're ready." She paused. It hit her like a wave. The next day, she saw the exact same phrase in a book someone left on a train seat. And that night, scrolling through social media, it appeared again. Same quote, same words. That wasn't random. That was the universe speaking in repetition, in rhythm, in undeniable clarity. She took the leap, applied for a position she never thought she'd qualify for, and it led her to everything she thought was impossible. This is how synchronicity works. It doesn't shout, it repeats, until you listen, until you say, "This can't be chance." And in that moment, you shift. You begin to live in communion with the divine rhythm. You stop demanding signs from the universe and you start walking in such alignment that signs follow you. This is the dance of resonance. You hum with truth, and the universe harmonizes. You listen deeply and the world begins to speak back. Not louder, but clearer. So the next time something strange happens, a feather where it doesn't belong, a number that keeps appearing, a phrase you hear 3 times in one day, don't dismiss it. Pause. Tune in. Ask, what am I being shown? Because when you ask that from a place of openness, the answers always arrive, not in words, but in alignment. And when you learn to trust that language, you no longer wait for miracles. You walk in them every day, Take a moment now and think about who you were 6 months ago. Not just what you were doing, but who you were, how you thought, how you felt, how you spoke to yourself when no one else was listening. Now breathe into the version of you sitting here listening to these words today. Do you see the shift? It may not have announced itself with fireworks, it may not have been validated with trophies, applause, or bank balances, but that shift, it's real, it's profound, and prove. Because transformation doesn't begin when others notice you've changed. It begins the moment you start seeing differently, choosing differently, responding with a little more grace, feeling a little more grounded, trusting what once made you tremble. That is the threshold, and you've already crossed it. You may still be waiting for the visible markers, new home, new love, new chapter, but the inner codes, the wiring, the energy, it's already different. You're no longer vibrating from the place of who you used to be. You're broadcasting from the frequency of someone becoming whole. That's not just growth. That's quantum, and yet we rarely stop to celebrate that kind of transformation because it's invisible. It doesn't get posted, it doesn't get praised, but it matters. It's sacred. So I want to invite you now to honor the parts of your progress that no one else clapped for. The day you wanted to give up, but didn't. The night you cried, then got up and chose peace anyway. The conversations you had with your own shadow, and the forgiveness you whispered to yourself when no one else could hear. That's the real work, and you did it. Maybe quietly, maybe without a ceremony, but you did it. And because of that, you're not who you used to be. Your transformation didn't start with a vision board. It started with a decision to meet yourself more honestly, to let go of what no longer served, to sit in the discomfort of not knowing, without collapsing into fear. That kind of evolution isn't loud. It's not glamorous, but it's everything. It's the seed cracking underground. It's the internal reprogramming that makes outer breakthroughs inevitable. Because internal evolution always precedes external validation. The world will catch up, the results will arrive. But what matters most is what's already happened within you, the shift from doubt to trust, from resistance to surrender, from I don't know if I can to I may not see it yet, but I feel it. That's not subtle. That's revolutionary. So if you've been waiting for permission to celebrate your progress, let this be it. You don't need anyone to declare you transformed. You already are. And if the world hasn't reflected it back yet, that's okay. Because the energy is already in motion. The reality is already rearranging, and soon, very soon, the outer world will mirror what your soul already knows. You've changed, not because you forced it, but because you chose it. Every quiet, unseen, holy choice you've made has brought you here. And from here, everything begins to unfold. Not in chaos, but in harmony. Not in striving, but in synchronicity. Because you're not becoming aligned anymore. You are alignment. You're not waiting for the transformation to begin. You're standing in the middle of it. There's a moment, and it's almost impossible to describe. It doesn't come with fireworks. It doesn't come with signs screaming, "This is it." But something inside you clicks, like a lock, long rusted shut, finally turning open from the inside. And with that click comes a stillness you've never known before. A peace that replaces pressure, a calm that doesn't need proof. It's not about feeling hyped or overly confident. It's not some electric surge of motivation. It's quiet, almost holy. You wake up one day and something in your chest feels different. Not because everything has changed on the outside, but because something inside of you has settled. It's the moment where your nervous system isn't scanning for danger anymore, where your breath is slower, deeper, where your thoughts don't race toward what could go wrong. They rest gently in what already feels right. You don't know exactly how it's all going to unfold, but you don't need to, because for the first time you trust it will. This is the moment of readiness, not the one you planned, the one you became. And what's wild is it doesn't even feel like a big deal when it happens. It doesn't feel like some cosmic drum roll. It feels like ease. You're no longer pushing. You're no longer begging. You're no longer proving. You're just open. Not to a fantasy, but to the truth that what is meant for you is not behind some distant mountain. It's already orbiting closer. You're not forcing anything into place. You're simply holding the vibration that lets it land. Imagine a key finally turning inside a door that's been locked for years. Not because you found the perfect key, but because you became the key. That's what this readiness feels like. It's not about finally being good enough. It's about feeling whole, even without the outcome. It's about no longer needing the proof to feel the peace. And strangely, that's when the proof shows up. Not because you needed it, but because you released the need. Because here's the hidden truth. The universe rarely delivers when you're vibrating in desperation. But when you step into that soft certainty, that frequency of I trust, the field begins to respond. That's the calm before the miracle. That deep exhale after years of gripping. That unexplainable knowing that this is it. You may not have the evidence, you may not see the shift in your bank account or your relationship or your external world yet, but your energy is different, your field has changed, and the universe always listens to your field. So if you've felt that quiet settle in recently, if you've noticed that you're no longer panicking over things you used to obsess about, if you've been walking with more ease, more surrender, more trust, then the lock has already turned. The door is already creaking open. You don't need to kick it down, just walk through. Because you are no longer knocking from the outside, you are opening from within, and everything that's been waiting for you is already on the other side.